So we'll start off today. What we're going to cover is some of reflection of last year, some of our mindset, some of our motivation, some of our goals, some of the numbers, and then we're going to get into schedule. We're going to wrap up at schedule. Next week, we're going to talk about how. So once we have an idea of what we're going to do, we're going to talk about some of the marketing, some of the budget, some of how you spend your time, what we say. We're going to go into that part of the detail next time, but we're going to break this up into two. So thank you for being here. I will see you next Thursday, exact same time, 11. We'll try and wrap up around 12:30. And part of this, though, is for accountability. So I've emailed everybody out a business plan. So if you don't have it for some reason, maybe somebody around you can forward it, or you can get your email to me and I can send it to you. But I emailed out a business plan. You can edit it. I told you how to edit it in there. And so what I'm going to ask is that everybody has, up until the part that we wrap up at, it'll be the KPIs part. So it'll be the KPIs and numbers. Have that filled out, and I'll repeat this again later, by next Thursday. So we're going to break this up into two different parts, and we're going to have all this taken care of by next time. So what I want to start with today is a little bit of a wrap up of 2025. So here we are, November 6th, 2025. Let's talk about what this year was. So we set up our business plan, and I did it in this room. Many of you guys were here, let's call it 365 days ago, and we talked about what 2025 was going to be for us. We talked about what you wanted, we talked about your goals, and we did some visioning. And so how did this year go? I'm going to ask you a ton of rhetorical questions today. Please take some notes. Think about as if I'm just talking directly to you. So how did this year go? How was 2025 for you? Was it everything you want it to be? What goals did you hit? What goals did you not hit? So before we look at your 2026 plan, it's very important that we talk about two different things. One, what was 2025? And what did you learn simply from a planning aspect? You did a business plan with me last year. What did you learn from the planning of it? Hey, I'm not this type of person. I can't plan like this. I don't do it like this. Hey, this year I've learned I need to do it like this. We need to learn simply from a planning aspect, what did you learn about yourself this year? So in 2025, our real estate market was very similar to 2024, very similar to 2023. What did you learn about your business? This doesn't work anymore for me. This does work for me. I need to do more of this. So let's start off with our reflection. What did we intend to do? What did we think we could accomplish? What was our realistic goal? How did you do? Did you accomplish it? Let's start off with that. If so, if you did accomplish your goals, if you did accomplish some parts of your goals, how? What did you do? What were your strengths of this year? If you did what you set out to do, how did you do that? Did you make an adjustment to your schedule in some way to be able to do that? Did you start something with consistency? Was there a new habit? Did you have a discipline? Did you have clarity? How did you do that? What were your strengths? Now, if we didn't, say we had some intentions for this year and we didn't accomplish them, same thought. Why did we not, right? Did we just not execute? Did we not put one foot in front of the other? Did we not dive in? Did we not say, okay, I'm actually going to do it? Darren just spoke with a lot of passion. Did you not really have a passion? He talked about the why. Did you not really have a strong motivator to force you to do it? Everybody has something that they intended to do and didn't. I do. I have things that I thought I was going to do this year and I just never really got around to. No real excuse. That's kind of the sad part about it. There are things that I meant to do this year and then I just didn't, right? There's really no excuse to some of that. And so it's a wake-up call, right? The new year ends up being a wake-up call. That's why everybody has New Year's resolutions. This is the year that I will, right? I will do that this year, right? And many of those New Year's resolutions fade in about 21 days, right? And so we need to set up some parameters. We need to set up accountability. We need to plan ahead to make sure that 21 days doesn't fade and we keep doing it. So when you struggled this year, take a second, think about it. Where did you struggle? What did you intend to do that you just never got around to doing? Why? Why did you not do it? Your answer is probably something kind of silly, like, I just didn't. I don't really know why. I just never really did it. It seemed like a lot, so I never did it. What is it? What is it for you? Give it some thought. What was your thing that you intended to do and you just didn't? And then how do you need to make a change? So, does it frustrate you? Here's the thing, if it doesn't frustrate you, that's kind of okay in a way. If you intended, for example, to start a geographic farm in your neighborhood and you didn't do it, and you're just like, I don't really care anymore, I actually don't want to do a geographic farm, okay. If it doesn't frustrate you, then take it off your list. I'm sure many people in this room have these things that are kind of floating around in their brain. Well, let's just get some clarity. Let's get rid of that. If you have that thing that you were thinking, okay, I'm going to do this, and you don't want to anymore, okay, fine, get rid of it. Let's be clear. So part of today is we're going to really clarify what you should do with your time, and we're going to get rid of some of the fluff. Okay, so we're going to work through some of that together. You have a framework in front of you on that business plan. You can fill that out if you'd like. But let's start off with a reflection of 2026. What did you do well and why? What did you not execute on your intentions and why? And if those intentions are still here and you still want to do it, specifically, in detail, what can we do differently? That might mean, all right, every single morning at 9 a.m. I have to do this. Every afternoon at 3 p.m. I have to do this. One day a week I'm going to carve out time to do this. How do you make a change so that it actually starts? And then the second part of that is, where do we need accountability? Maybe that's me. I am here every single Friday at 11 in that conference room. So if you want that to be your weekly accountability, please be there. Absolutely, I'm there for you. If you have a family member, you have a team member, somebody else in this office, if you have a way to have accountability, great. Okay, let's set some of that up. All right. So I mentioned let's do a reflection on 2025. There's a couple things that I want to talk about here. So I think we need to do a quick state of the market and kind of look at where we are and what next year could be. I have a couple thoughts on that, and I'm not saying I'm going to be completely right. So some of what I'm saying isn't really a projection, it's more of just thoughts, okay? So what we saw in 2023, 2024, and 2025 was a far lower closed sale amount. Those 3 years are very similar in closed, pending. Our numbers are very, very similar. And they're worse than the previous years. Obviously, we saw a spike in 2020, 2021, 2022. But even before that, though, pre-pandemic numbers, we've been lower than that, right? And why are we lower? It's that less people are moving. I want to give you some stats. These are from NAR, and I want to share these because I think that they're important to know what our year was. And so, per NAR, our first-time homebuyer, the profile of our first-time homebuyer made up 21% of purchases. First-time homebuyer was only 21% of purchases. That's low. 21%. What do you guys think the median age of a first-time homebuyer is? Somebody give me something.
40.
Shut up, you guys already knew it. 40 years old is a first-time homebuyer. That's shocking. That is shocking. Unless you came here and already knew that, like these two guys. 40 years old is a first-time homebuyer. That's insane. And they make up 21% of the market. 32% have children under 18, so essentially 1/3 of them, and half of them were married. So when you think of your stereotypical first-time homebuyer, we think of the young, excited 28-year-old couple who's got a 2-month-old baby, they're married, and they're looking for the white picket fence. That's the first-time homebuyer we all think, right? It's not what it is. That's absolutely not what it is. So if you're thinking I'm going to go find first-time homebuyers, first of all, probably not the best idea because they're not really out there, right? Why? Affordability. We can talk about that later. But the first-time homebuyer is probably not out there. Second of all, they're not where you're looking. That first-time homebuyer is not who you think it is. It's important to know what our market is. This is our market. Part of understanding what we're going to do next year is thinking about where should I put my efforts. Probably not first-time home buyers. So what is the profile of a repeat buyer? These two are not allowed to talk. Does anybody know the median age of a repeat buyer?
59.
It's quite high. The median age of a repeat buyer, if I were to guess, would have been about 45. It's 62.
Wow.
62 years old is the median age of a repeat buyer.
Sun City right now.
This is exactly right, and this is kind of why I'm bringing it up. That's shocking to me. These two numbers are completely shocking. So the median age of a repeat buyer is 62%. Obviously, they make up the remaining market of what a first-time home buyer isn't, so they're obviously 79% of the market. 30% was all cash, kind of normal-ish number, it's fine. 22% had children under 18. That not shocking given 62, but just kind of shocking that repeat buyers are only 22% have children under 18. So a lot of people out there with those two numbers put together, children under 18 are not living in homes, they're in rentals and things like that. So what was the main reason why these repeat buyers moved? This is incredibly important. And I know our team will know this because we talk about it all the time. It's important to think about what is the motivation of a client. Pending is low. Pending sales, closed sales, they're low. What's their motivation? Well, the number one reason is to be closer to family and friends. Right? Stephanie knows this well. To be closer to family and friends. Okay? Let's think about who the sellers are. So the median age of a seller, not shocking, 64 years old. Okay? If the median age of a buyer is 62, 64 of a seller is not shocking. So here's the thing. It says that 34% of them purchased a bigger home, which means 66% purchased a smaller home. So if 66% of people that are sellers purchase a smaller home, and sellers are 64 years old, and the buyers are 62 years old, this tells us a ton. This tells us a lot. And so when we look at that, they move closer to be family and friends, and 50% purchased a newer home, which means 50% didn't purchase a newer home, which means it could not be more inconsequential. Doesn't matter. Some did, some didn't. Doesn't tell us anything. So it's not that people are looking to buy newer homes. Doesn't matter. 50 did, 50 didn't. Whatever. So if you look at this, they purchase smaller homes and they're older. So what should we be thinking about as we plan out our business next year? Should we be spending a ton of time and money marketing to first-time home buyers? Nope. Who should we go after? What'd you say?
Sun City.
Sun City. So where should we go? So there's a couple different things here.
In Sun City. Just saying.
All right. Well, actually, what Chris just said is actually where I'm going with this. So last thing Chris just said is bring buyers. So if we know that our market has lower pending sales, lower closed sales, we know that our inventory pretty much doubled this year, we know that we have a lot of homes on market, we know that demand is low, our month's supply of homes right now, you guys may or may not know this, is pretty much at a decade high. So that tells us demand is low, supply is high. So if you're looking to get rich next year, and I'm talking rich, what do you do to really capitalize on this market? So if you go and target downsizers to get their listings, great. You're gonna have a lot of listings. A lot of them will probably sell. Great thing to do. Awesome. Go get a bunch of listings with downsizers. That's number two. Number one, though, bring the buyers. If you want to get freaking rich next year, you figure out how to market, brand, and have conversations with upsizer buyers. Downsizer sellers are looking for upsizer buyers. How do you find quality? Well, you need to be on the buy side. The listing side, you're only going to be able to sell so many of them. It's a market where we're not selling a ton of listings. How do you have a ton of sales, make a ton of money? Get in the niche of upsizer buyers. Okay? So start thinking about, what am I going to build my business around next year? What is the market telling me? This is what the market's telling us. So how are we going to capitalize on that? Last stat that I'll give you is that when I got started in real estate, they always said that people move every 5 to 7 years. I got started in late 2009. The stat was that people moved every 5 to 7 years, and then everybody got kind of up in arms about, oh my gosh, now it's 7 to 10. Oh my God, our sales are going to be so much lower because it's 7 to 10. Everyone's staying in their homes longer. And then all of a sudden it was 10 to 12. Now people are like, oh my God, somebody please move, right? And so right now the stat is 11 years. So those people that are selling are 11 years. Would anyone here be shocked if that becomes 12, becomes 13, 14, 15? I wouldn't be shocked.
I think they've locked in lower interest rates.
And that's exactly why, right? It's because they've locked in lower interest rates. So the next thing we need to think about when we're planning what should we do with our plan next year is who's moving, right? They're moving to be closer to family and friends. They're moving for divorce. Why else are people moving? Why would people leave their interest rate? Why would we move? Why would we buy? Why would we sell?
Kids.
They have kids. We need more space. Okay, awesome. We need these. This conversation has to happen in order for us to think about who should we target our conversations to next year. We're going to get to this in a moment, but it's really important to get this out up front. What else do we have, guys? Let's be interactive. Job transfers.
Yeah.
Awesome. Death. Yeah, absolutely. What was that?
Defaults.
Defaults. Yeah, that's increasing for sure. Yep, defaults. Retirees, so downsizing, right? Yeah, retiree. Maybe I want to retire, downsize, use that home equity, that money. Cash out, yep. Okay, that's good. What else? These are all good answers. What else?
Relocation.
Relocation, yep, that absolutely counts. What was that?
High debt.
High debt, yep, absolutely, yep. Anybody else have anything? I hope we're taking notes because these are all people that you should go speak to. Anybody else have anything else? Okay, that's fine. So let's think about that. So we know that about 50% of all mortgage, well, I shouldn't say mortgage holders, homeowners, sorry, have their home paid off. About 50% their home is paid off. We know that this number is changing a little bit, but it's mid-60s as far as percent of people who have at least 50% equity. So about 2/3 of homeowners have at least 50% equity. So a couple things that we need to talk about right up front. Darren's favorite thing and exactly why he asked me to be here to talk to you guys was talk about interest rates. It's really important to him. He wants me to spend an hour talking about it. So here's what's kind of happening with interest rates is we moved from about 7.25 recently to today we're about 6.3. Didn't really change the market, right? And everybody's out there talking about interest rates, interest rates, interest rates. We don't care. We don't really care about that because it's not really changing the market. It's probably not going to change the market. So let's stop thinking about it. Let's stop worrying about it. If our clients have questions about it, we of course respect it and answer it. But I think realtors are talking about it more than clients are. If clients want to move, it's for one of the reasons we just said. Nobody said interest rates, right? Interest rates was not the reason people are going to move. So with that being the case, let's talk about that for a second. You know, you look at like the Mortgage Bankers Association, they say that rates through 2027 are probably going to stay at 6.3. So they're probably a good one to reference. Next time your client tells you, hey, well, I heard that rates are really going to fall, rates. Well, I'm going to wait until rates get lower. Just reference out another source. Mortgage Bankers Association sounds like a pretty fair one to reference. And you can just Google it yourself. I don't even just send you an article. And so even just right on there you Google, it says their projection looks pretty bleak. You're not going to like it, I think was the headline of the main article I read. And so if you just go on there, they think 6.3. So whether that is around there, whatever, that's fine. Darren says this all the time. It's not really going from 7 to 6.3 that makes the difference. It's going from 3 to 6.3 that makes the difference. It's the client who has to give up their rate to go up. It's not the little bit they save when they buy. That's not the difference. So with all that being said, I don't think this year rates are really going to change our market too much. Some noise to keep an eye on though is Chairman Powell was out in May. Next person is appointed by Trump. Trump obviously wants a lot of rhetoric around rates to go down, so you're going to hear a lot of noise. Keep in the back of your mind, probably not going to change the market. There's only so much you can really do here, and so it's probably not going to change too much, but who knows, who cares, right? Rates are not really what we're talking about. What I'm keeping an eye on, and this is totally my projection, but I do want to say it because I think that it's important for the clients that we're going after, is I think the next big catalyst to our market is not that rates fall so much that demand rushes back. I actually think it's the debt. So I actually think it's that we're starting to see delinquencies go up, as Darren said. Car loan delinquencies are going up. Credit card debt is at like a near all-time high. It's very bad. National debt is an all-time high, right? Personal debt is very high. You look at what's happening, people are having their job layoffs. If you're an entrepreneur, you're not really seeing as much discretionary spending out there. So as an entrepreneur, my business isn't doing as well. Maybe I had to take a pay cut to keep my job. Maybe one of the two spouses lose their job. But the flip side of that isn't very great, which is maybe to get my kids through school. Private school is actually getting more expensive. Cost of living is going up. You know, going out to dinner is going up. All of that's going up. My income's going down. Ugh, that's not good. And so when you think about financial hardship, imagine you put yourself in the shoes of one of those people. Oh my God, my ear finally just popped. That was awesome. I've had this like ear congestion and I can't hear, I hear an echo of myself. Oh, that was awesome. So if you're having a lot of financial hardship and you're thinking, okay, what's gonna solve this? You know, I can't really go make more money. We have that luxury that we could all go make more money next year, but not everyone can. So if you're thinking, how am I gonna solve this? Well, we referenced that mid-60s, two-thirds of people have at least 50% equity in their house. That's the solution. The solution to my problems is the equity in my house. And so if I need to get the equity out, I can refinance. I can stay in my same house, go from a 3% rate to a 6.3% rate and pay a lot more for my same house. And that hurts a lot. I don't want to do that. And so what I'm probably going to do is sell my house and move somewhere else to get my equity out. take my equity out. That way I can continue to put my kid through school, I can keep my business moving forward, I can stay out of debt, and I can just kind of ride out this wave until things come back around for me. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So the other thing to look at is, well, my home equity is where my money is. Maybe I've got money in the stock market. S&P 500 went up about 18% this year. Our market, who knows this? From November 1st to November 1st, what did our market do? Who knows the price change percentage? Here in Vegas. Single family home resale. Who knows that?
Pretty close. We came down,
Down 2.5%. So if my money is in my home, my money is in the stock market went up 18, my home went down 2.5. We are trending down. We are in a market with low demand. As I said, month supply is at a historical high. We are low demand, high supply. What does that mean for prices? It likely means prices go down. So we have seen that over the last couple of months. We were like most of last year, we were 470, 475. We had 1 month at 480. We had 1 month at 465. But we had a 470 to 475 median price of a single family resale last year. And so it dripped down to last month was 459, and then beginning of this month was 460. So we've actually dropped quite a bit. And so we're sitting right now at a 460 median sales price with a depreciation of 2.5%. And it's been going down. And so if I'm sitting there and I keep seeing that go down, and I'm thinking, I've had all these financial hardships, my money is in my home, that's all my money in my home, and I'm losing it every month, I should probably take that out. And I think we're gonna see more people decide to sell to take that out. I could totally be wrong. But I think that is the next catalyst to the market, not interest rates. Why I'm telling you this is, how do we shape our conversations? Who do we go talk to? Talk to the people that you think might possibly need to sell because of a reason, right? Whatever that reason may be. We just talked about a couple. Talk to those people for listings. They probably buy, maybe they rent for a couple years and then they buy. That's a really good person to speak to, because we're not in this for 1 year. We're not in real estate just for 2026. We want to set up 2027, 2028, 2029. And if those people need to sell, rent, and buy again with you, that's fine. Let's help them out, right? So this is one thing that could be happening with our market. You start to see possibly prices come down a little bit. You start to see with that rates come down just a little bit. We're getting into a steady market. That's a very good thing. That's good. Most importantly here, we need to get these people out of 3% rates for our long-term industry. That would be wonderful if what I just said happens, people get out of 3% rates, please never go below 5 again, and then we just kind of have a normal market that we go back into and we don't run into this problem again. That's me optimistically thinking that could happen. Who knows? I have no idea. I only tell you that because I think that could happen, and if that happens, these are things you need to be thinking when we talk about your lead sources. What are your sources, for what reason? Now, who heard everything I said and they thought to themselves, let's go after first-time home buyers? Okay, nobody. Awesome. Okay, we're in good shape. So, the next thing that I want to talk about is Darren played a really good video, and everybody on the team heard me say this in the meeting. But Darren played a good video with Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about his life. And in that video, he says that 74% of people hate their job. 74% of people hate their job. And you guys are all in real estate, that number's probably higher. And so real estate can be really tough, right? And so if you hate your job, you hate real estate, this might just be a little nudge from me to say, okay, stop doing it, right? If you don't like it, don't waste your life. Go do something else. If you hate real estate, just get out of it, right? But if you hate real estate and you're gonna do it, I said this in the meeting, why are you gonna do it? Probably gonna do it because you have to, right? I have to do it for some reason. This is my job. I don't know what else I would go do. I'm in real estate. That's what I'm going to do. No, Chris, I'm not gonna leave the industry. I will be a realtor. I'm doing real estate. Okay, then do it, right? Act like it. Act like you don't have another option. Act like this is your job. So if you look back at your 2025, what effort level did you give? Was it 100? Was it 90? Was it 95? If I watched you for a month, what would I say? If you say, no, I give like 90% effort, I'm really trying, I have to do real estate, this is my job, I'm not leaving the industry, and I just shadowed you for a month and watched you, Would you be super proud of what you did for that month? Would I think you gave 90% effort, or would I probably think it was like 60? So I have a feeling that most realtors give, I'm gonna be generous, 60% effort. I'm gonna be generous when I say that. Maybe not you guys in the room, but most realtors, I think, don't give that much effort. I think they go home at 2 or 3 o'clock, 2-3 hours at the gym in the middle of the day, get here late, go have a couple glasses of wine at lunch, not really working that hard. Probably mess around on social media, check some emails, do some home searches. Yeah, we're filling some time, right? I have a feeling a lot of realtors don't think about the fact that lead generation, conversations, appointments, building your brand, those are the things that we should be doing. And I think a lot of realtors kind of fill fluff time to feel busy. But when you really think about it, you're not trying that hard. And maybe it's because you're kind of running from something. I don't really want to try this new thing. That's scary. And so it comes back to, what did you intend to do but not do? I have a suspicion that, again, not necessarily the people in this room, but a lot of realtors are not trying that hard. And they said to that whole 74%, to that whole challenge of maybe you should get out of the industry, I have a feeling a lot of them say, I have to do this. Okay, then act like it, right? If you have to do this, then act like it. Flip side of that, if you're one of those people who actually loves this industry, you love it, act like it. If you love this, then you should be very grateful. If you love real estate and you're thinking to yourself, gosh, no, I'm one of those people, and I don't even think it's 26%, because the statement is 74% of people don't like their job, they hate their job. There's people that are indifferent. So how many people actually love their job? I don't know what that number is, but it's probably pretty low. And if you love your job, you should probably be pretty obsessed with it. If you're lucky enough to love your job and you love real estate, then act like it. If you love what you're doing, don't put in 60% effort. That's ridiculous. Put in more effort, 90% effort. What should you be doing with your time? So this is me ranting like a crazy person, but I do think that if you love your job, act like it. If you hate your job, leave it. And if you hate your job but you feel you have to do it, then do it. All right. And so let me think about one more thing from last year before we talk about next year. Do me a favor and think for a moment, what did you do well? Okay, what did you do well this year? Specifically one thing. What was your one thing that if you were up here and you were going to talk for a half hour to everybody else in this room, what would you talk about? What could you proudly and confidently say, listen to me, I know what I'm doing? What was that thing you did well? Are you awesome at open houses? Are you awesome at cold calling in some way? What did you do really well? This is very important to think about your plan for next year, and we'll talk about why in a couple minutes. But think about for a moment, as your last reflection I'll ask about for 2025, what did you do very well? What sets you apart? What are you the expert at? Okay, so that's our last part there. Hopefully everybody thought and wrote something down. One more reminder that please come with all these things I'm about to talk about next week, and I hope to see all of you here. So we're going to go through a couple different things. First being your 10-year vision. We're going to talk about your 5-year vision. We're going to talk about your 1-year vision. And by the way, I'm very much a whiteboard person, so we're going to reference this a lot today. So first and foremost, what is your 10-year vision for your life and your career? I'm going to ask you to go into a lot of detail on this later. Sit down, really think about it. When people do visioning, one thing that is a pet peeve of mine is when they just kind of put up a picture of like a beach, a nice sandy beach. That's like the cliche thing someone does on a vision board, right? That bothers me because that's not a real vision. I want to go on vacations. Okay, that's not what we're talking about here. When we're talking about your vision, we're talking more about the life that you want to live, who you're interacting with, the time spent towards work, all of that. If you have a 10-year vision to be retired, to be honest with you, mine's 12 years. I want to be retired in 12 years. So if you want to be retired in 10 years, talk about it. What do you have to do in order to be retired in 10 years? If in 10 years you want to be an owner of a company, I'm sure Darren will help you get to that point. If you want to be a broker, if you want to be a team leader, if you want to have a business like Darren's, great. If you want to have a business like mine, great. What does that look like? 10 years from now, what are you working towards? Do you want to list and sell? Nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want to do it well. If you want to list and sell, great. If you want to do something different, what is it? Okay, what are we working towards? Build your resume. Now, if you want to list and sell in 10 years, who do you want to work with? In 10 years, do you want to get to the point where you never have to cold call again, you never have to do an open house again, you never have to work with an on a lead again, you're only working with the people who love you and the referrals from those people? That would be a really nice job. That would be great. I would enjoy that. You might go from the 74% of people that hate your job to the people that love your job if you get to have the job you want. So what is that vision? Work towards it. And again, as we're talking about visioning, I'll say this one more time. Did 2025 get you to your vision? Did you use these 12 months to get towards the vision that you had long term? Or are you really in the exact same spot getting to that vision that you were 12 months ago? If you're in the exact same spot, let's please make a change. Same thing goes for 5-year vision. Your 5-year vision is a stepping stone to get to your 10-year vision. Obviously, it's the halfway point. You think, okay, to achieve my 10-year vision, what do I need to have done at my halfway point? So if Darren said, hypothetically, 10 years, he wanted to have 50 stores. Maybe he says, in 5 years, I wanted to have 25 different branches. Okay? What does that need to be? What is that halfway point for you? Now, most importantly, let's talk about your 1-year vision. Again, I'm going to ask you to sit down and do these at much more depth by yourself later. Really brainstorm. Please don't rush through this. Don't just put words on a piece of paper. I'm not going to give you an A on your paper. That's not what we're doing here. This is for you to really talk to yourself and think about what you want for this year. We are going to reference back to this next year too. Like I asked you before, hey, reflect, look at last year's business plan. So remember, this is you talking to future you as well. Okay? So your 1-year vision, what do you want to have accomplished by the end of this year? So throughout the year, maybe you're going to do a couple different things. And then at the end of the year, where do you want to be? Your 1-year vision, a year from now, where do you want to be? So did you build up a system of some sort? Did you have a certain amount of closings? Did you create a brand, expand a brand? What did you do for your career? If you want to write anything in there that's non-financial, non-career, but it does help you go forward, great. I've got a couple of non-career things that are on my 1-year vision. Think about what you want to accomplish this year. Who do you want to be at the end of next year? As a person, who do you want to be? As a realtor, as a business owner, as a colleague, as a spouse, as a parent? What do you need to do this year to be where you want to be at the end of next year? Where this next part becomes really important to me, I would say what I'm about to say to you is the second most important thing of this entire conversation today, which is last year, many of you probably remember this, I stood up here and I said, guys, what can you do this year with consistency to set yourself up to be in a different position next year when we have that conversation? And here we are. So here we are, 12 months later, we're having this conversation again. And I asked you back then, what could you do to set yourself up and have something in your business you don't have now that you do have on the next business plan? I truly don't think anyone listened. I truly don't think a single person did what I asked. I don't think anyone sat down and said, I'm going to do something with consistency and discipline to set myself up and have something that I can then take into my next year's business plan. If anyone did, then I'd love to hear it. But I know all you guys, and I don't think anyone did. So here I am asking you one more time. Can we listen this time? Can we do that? Right? I'm being a little condescending, but good. Right? Yeah, just a little bit. And that's fine. I'm doing it on purpose. So can we do that? And so here's some examples. Last year I gave this example. I said, if you want to work with the people that know you, like you, love you, and their referrals, that's a nice business to have. So if right now you have 100, 200, 300 people that know you, you're restricted. You can't really only work with them. And if you do, your goals have to be a little bit lower. So what I said was, could you guys imagine if every single day, Monday through Friday, 50 work weeks a year, you added 4 people into your network? I moved here from Boston to Las Vegas. I didn't know a single person other than my brother who's a realtor and my parents who are realtors. I didn't know anyone who wasn't a realtor. And so I had to create a sphere. And that's what I did. I just cold called all day and added people into a sphere, and I built a sphere. And so what I would ask you guys to do, and this is one example, and what I brought up last year was add 4 people per day to your sphere. And if you did that, you would have 1,000 people at the end of the year. 1,000 more people who you could call, and they would, you know you have the right number. At one point they've answered, hopefully they answer again. They have spoken to you, they know who you are. Ideally with the script that I would give you, and I can do this on Fridays at 11 if you guys want to come and talk about that, they would agree to future communication with you and understand that they're going into your network, right? You're providing value, we can talk about that as I said. But that would be 1,000 people. So again, you have a 100, 200 person sphere. Well, imagine having 1,000 more people by the end of the year. If you did that with consistency, Monday through Friday, 50 work weeks a year, 4 people per day. 4 people per day working 8 hours a day is not hard to do, and nobody did it. So could you imagine again, you're sitting down to do your 2026 business plan, and you're like, yeah, I have 1,000 more people that I can talk to anytime I want. How good would that feel? How much better would that feel? So, I ask you one more time. Do something like that. I'll give you another example. Starting a geographic farm is a pain in the butt. Starting a geographic farm, demographic farm, those things are tough. You really need repeat communication. You have to establish a brand with someone who does not know you. It's really tough to start a farm. And so what I've seen through my 7 years of being a Tom Ferry coach is everyone comes here and they want to learn how to start a farm, and we get like 3 weeks into it, and then all of the momentum dies. Nobody wants to do a farm after they really see the work that it takes. So another example is instead of having 1,000 more people in your sphere, maybe you actually start a farm this year. And you have to start it knowing it's going to take 9 to 18 months before you see anything at all. If you want a closing, you're not going to see that. You're going to see a closing 9 to 18 months unless you get kind of lucky. But consistency, it's going to take that long. And so that is another thing. Maybe you go into your 2027 business plan saying, I have a geographic farm. That's a legitimate lead source. And so this year I'm going to project 8 closings from that. But if you say I'm going to get 8 closings from my 2026 business plan, I would tell you you're wrong. That will not happen. Wait, if you don't have one right now. And so that's another example of something you can build with your 1-year vision over the course of this year. Another one is maybe you really want to expand your digital branding. You expect online leads that aren't paid. Everybody expects that they can do that. But think about how saturated the market is. It's very difficult to establish a digital brand. So maybe over the course of this year, you're going to get pretty specific. You're going to add, let's say add 1,000 Instagram followers, add 1,000 YouTube subscribers. You're going to post 100 videos into your YouTube library. What you're going to do is you're going to really dial down different communities. You're going to highlight parks, schools, communities. You're going to do property walkthroughs. And you're going to really become a specialist at something digitally. And maybe you become a trusted brand for people who are relocating. And so if you're relocating, as Mike said before, into the area, well, I can't really go and walk through all these properties, but I'm definitely online. I'm on Zillow, I'm on Redfin, promise you that. And if I'm looking at these properties all the time, who can I trust? Well, if Mike builds a really strong digital brand, and he's a relocation expert, and he shows me all these different communities, I'm on his page all the time, I've watched 100 of his videos, and by the time we actually meet, I already trust him and I already love him. So maybe that's something you build over the course of the year, because that does not happen overnight. So back to the 1-year vision. What are you willing to do with consistency, 50 weeks of this year, Monday through Friday, to set yourself up for 2027? Do future you a favor and change your business and your career. If you establish that digital brand, you have that forever. If you add 1,000 people in your sphere, assuming you continue to contact them, they're in there forever. You can change the game here. Same deal. You set up a geographic farm, you have that as long as you keep working it. But instead of starting it and feeling daunting, do it this year. And then next year, you get to reap the benefits. Okay? Number 2 most important thing I'm going to ask of you today, okay? So our next thing is going to be the why. Darren did touch on this for a little bit, and he asked that you all have a why, and I want to add a couple things to that. One thing that I run into a lot as a coach is I ask someone's why, and I have their last year's why in front of me, and they just repeat last year's why back to me. They do it quietly, they do it like a robot, and if that's your why, that's not going to work. right? Darren said he's getting a little bit emotional speaking, right? He couldn't sleep last night. Like that's obsession, that's emotion, right? If your why is last year's why, don't you kind of think you're going to get last year's results with that why? Probably. So we probably need to refresh this a little bit. And what I have found is that most people have a why and they're willing to work with a why, they just don't know how. So let me help you for a moment. The area that you need to expand your why is the detail. What I get more than probably anything else is, what's your why? My family. Okay. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Well, my wife and daughter. Okay. Again, what does that mean, right? So your why needs to be more specific. I want to do this for my child this year, not just in general. I want to do this for my child this year. Again, you take that one step further. Being a coach sometimes can be frustrating. You take that one step further and you can say to the person, well, what does that mean? And they'll say, well, I want to give my child a better life. Okay, we're getting closer, but let's go one step further. What does that mean? And so keep dialing down the details. I want to do this for my child. I am going to set up a strong 529 account so that my child has a college account. I'm going to set up an IRA. I'm going to take out a credit card so by the time they're 18, they have an 820 credit score, right? I'm going to make sure that they can retire based off the money I'm putting in their IRA. I'm going to buy them property. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do these specific things so that this is the outcome at a later date. Be specific. Part of my why is being able to retire at this time. I met a guy the other day. He could not have been more clear about retiring his parents in a certain way at a certain time with his why. I asked him, what's your why? And he laid it out and I said, perfect. Okay, no more questions. Let's go to the next one, right? It was perfect. So with your why, there has to be detail and there has to be emotion. I'm not kidding. I probably said this to you guys before. I have heard people tell me when I ask their why, they say they want to buy new golf clubs. They want to buy a new truck. I'm dead serious. People have said that to me before. And that's it. Like that's the whole why. And so I kind of don't want to work with that person anymore because that just, you have no motivation. So what is the emotion behind your why? And let's be detailed. The last thing I'll say about your why, I have found that for most people, the stronger whys are the ones that kind of have to do with yourself. They're internal and they come from some level of feeling a sense of accomplishment, proving it to yourself, maybe proving it to others. I spoke with somebody yesterday morning and part of his why, which I really understood, was to get an edge on everybody else. And he's a competitive guy and his why was to get an edge on other people. I kind of loved it. You know, I really liked it a lot. You know, thinking about people get left behind, right? Unfortunately, it's true. Unfortunately, people get left behind. At some point, they reach a point where they need assistance. Will that ever be you? Probably not. But if you have a strong reason why you cannot let that happen, then that's going to go a long way. So I really felt that when he said that, getting an edge on everybody else, right? And maybe not everybody kind of gets where he's coming from on that, but it was strong. It was really strong. It was kind of emotional for him in the moment. Part of it was being competitive, but most of it was a lot more than that. It was more all-encompassing to his family and what that means for his 2 daughters, right? And for his wife, and just getting ahead of everybody else as a sense of protection. Right? I'm good, I've got money, we're comfortable, we have this. It meant a lot of different things and I understood that. So as you think about that, what part of your why is internal, right? Doing it for myself, proving it to myself. Now, my first ever why I had, and if my brother John was here, he would remember this, was my college girlfriend's dad. When I told him I was getting into real estate, he told me that I wasn't going to be able to do that. He's like, that's a hard job. And he told me that I wasn't going to be able to do that. And I don't actually remember anymore how he said it, but at the time I wrote down word for word what he said and I put it right on the wall in front of my prospecting booth. So I sat there and it was right between some of my scripts and I always saw it. And it always drove me crazy. There was so much emotion to it. It genuinely made me mad. And so when you think about how someone else maybe didn't believe in you, a sense of proving them wrong is an emotional why too. Whatever it is, if there's emotion to it and there's detail to it, then it's a strong why. But if it's not going to work. And it's got to be different. It's got to be a reboot from last year. Okay. Our next thing is going to be our commitment level. Now, Tom Ferry says, are you interested, are you committed, or are you obsessed? If you're interested, we're probably not talking to each other right now because you're probably very part-time. You're thinking this real estate thing might be for me. It just sounds good. Now, most people aren't interested. If you're committed, wonderful. What I find is that most people tell me they're obsessed, and I don't believe it. So an obsession is, I couldn't sleep last night, I slept 3 hours. I couldn't stop thinking about this. There's clarity, it's always one thing. If you're obsessed, it's I'm obsessed over this, not I'm obsessed about real estate, I'm obsessed about this thing, right? I'm obsessed with expanding our brokerage. I'm obsessed with getting our next location. There's clarity to that. It's not I'm obsessed about being successful. Now, I find that a lot of people aren't really sure of their commitment and they can't define their commitment. And that's why this is important to me. This isn't a vague thing. This is, I'm obsessed with this one specific thing. And I kind of think that people can't be obsessed 2-3 years in a row. I just kind of use the analogy. It's like if you're going to run a marathon and you sprinted the entire thing, it's just not possible. You can't do that. And so if you're trying to be obsessed for 10 years in a row, it's just not possible. It's just not. You'll get burnout. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with being committed. And it's almost like that's a nasty word to a lot of people because they think, no, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. Okay, well, prove it, first of all. Prove it. Prove you're obsessed by doing the actions with 100% effort, right? It's sprinting all the time. But if you're committed, what are you committed to? So if you are obsessed, wonderful, great. Define it. What are you obsessed with? If you're committed, give me about 3 things that you're committed to doing this year. I'm committed to improving my life, improving my business, improving the lives of others by doing A, B, C. Be very detailed. What are your commitments for this year? Now, our next thing is accountability. Now, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but there's 2 forms of accountability. There's internal accountability. That means I'm going to do it. I just use the example that I'm here in the office depending on my appointment time between 7:30 and 8 every day. And so if I hired a real estate coach and that coach said to me, all right, you're working with me now, I'm getting you to the office by 9 a.m. every morning. That's a non-negotiable for me. I would just be like, okay, fine. What else? What else are we doing, right? We're good. That's internal accountability. I'm good. I don't need you for that. External accountability is if that same person said to me, I'm going to have you do a reel every single day. That I'm not doing. That would be a lot. I would not be excited about doing that. I need external accountability around that because if left on my own, I just won't do it. That's external accountability. So what I'm asking of everybody is, what is the internal accountability that you're proud of, that's going to move your business forward, that internal accountability that you can bank on? What is that internal accountability that makes you great? Write that down. External accountability, give me 2 to 3 things that you need. 2 to 3 pieces of external accountability that you need this year. I need help expanding my digital brand, therefore I need to do 3 reels a week. That's clear, got to clarify it. That's external accountability. Honestly, you guys won't believe this. A lot of people I coach don't get to the office. It's shocking. And so I have some people that don't wake up until 10. It's insane. It's completely insane. And so there's somebody I coach, she's in Raleigh, North Carolina. And so what we started doing was she does 8 a.m. Orange Theory classes. And Orange Theory charges you if you don't go there. You have to have the membership. We have some accountability with people that are there. So in order to get her butt out of bed, we do 8 a.m. Orange Theory classes. So that's external accountability for her. I know Darren's laughing. He's like, you guys don't all wake up at 4? I know, yeah. Yeah, you've already had like how much caffeine by 10 o'clock? An unspeakable amount. Yeah, and so what is that external accountability you need? Give me 2 to 3 examples, please. We will work on it together. I'm going to keep referencing this Friday at 11. I'm always here for you, okay? So your external accountability, why is that thing important? Please don't give me like fluff, but why is that thing important? And so I'm not going to push back too much on that. If you say this is my external accountability, you believe that for a reason. And so great, you know, that's fine. Let's work on that. And so with your external accountability, what are 2 to 3 things that you can really move your business forward? Okay, what are those things you need? Now, external accountability can come from each other. It can come from the team. It can come from me. It can come from family member, spouse, whatever it may be, right? So that's the motivation and mindset of what we need to do from reflecting on last year, thinking about the market, where we are, where we're going, then thinking about my vision, thinking about why I care for it, what I'm committed to, and the accountability to get all of it done. Our next thing we're going to talk about is our numbers, our lead sources, and our goals. And I'm going to pause for just 1 second. Does anybody have any questions on anything I've said to this point? Yeah, of course. Internal accountability, something that you will do for yourself, no matter what. You've got it. Like, I shower every single morning. I don't need someone to wake me up and say, time to shower. Like, I've got it, right? That's something you will do. External accountability would be something that you probably will not do on your own. That's something that you need some help with, okay?
I'm just gonna make a suggestion.
Yeah.
Because I hear from a lot of clients about their challenge to get in here, make their calls, do that type of stuff. Guys, there's 30 of you sitting in here right now. Get together and hold each other accountable, right? Because the one thing I do know about most of you here, you all have really good hearts and you do care about people. And the last thing you'll do is let other people down. So if you make that commitment between each other, that, hey, will you be here tomorrow at 9? Yep, I'll be here tomorrow at 9. And you guys start making that commitment with each other, I think you'll see a definite change in your business. Not only that, but now you've got others that you have to hold each other accountable.
Okay, anybody else have any other questions? Okay. So our next thing we're going to talk about is everybody's favorite. This is kind of why we're here. This is the goals and this is how. So what did we do this year? We have to know that. We have to know what we did this year. And the things that we need to know are the number of units that you actually will close. So you can look at what's officially been closed, what is currently pending with a close date of this year, and the clients that you believe will definitely close by December 31st. So if you have an active buyer that you're looking every single day, they want to buy something this weekend, and they can do a quick close, they're qualified, they'll probably close by the end of the year. So think about what your actual number of transactions will be, your volume, your GCI, those are your actuals. You should be able to project that. You should know that. What are those for 2025? How do you feel about that? Is that number something that you're proud of? Was it low? Okay, so the next thing after looking at your actuals is I want to know what was lost. I want to know business lost. So if we look at the actual here, what was the business loss? So if we intended to do this year 30 deals and we did 20, business loss was 10. So I want to look at that, business loss. How did we come up short on the goal? And then very, very importantly, we need to know why. Okay? That why. Why did we not hit the goal? Can you answer that? Don't say the market. That's probably not the answer. Maybe a little bit. But why did we not hit that goal? So maybe, for example, I didn't have a plan last year. I didn't know what I was doing. Okay, great. Let's imagine you did have a plan, though. So you had a plan, and you said, I'm going to close 30 transactions, and 10 of them are going to come from geographic farm. And then you got punched in the face this year and realized, oh, geographic farming takes a year. So I closed 0 deals from geographic farm. That's where 10 came from. Okay. Why did you not accomplish that amount? Well, I'm going to do 10 deals from my sphere, and my sphere didn't transact at all. Did your sphere not transact at all, or did they not transact with you? Right? Why? So this is a little important thing to remind everybody. The average person knows 3.6 licensed realtors. So if the average person out there knows 3.6 licensed realtors, that means that 2 to 3 other realtors than you are possible people that they can work with. And so why would they choose you? So is there some reason where you're an expert? Maybe you know the community really well, maybe you're really good friends, maybe your kids are very close. Why would they choose you? So if you don't really have an answer to that other than we're friends, I know them, we're acquaintances, you might be having a hard time with that. When's the last time you spoke to that person? Has it been a while? What was the time before that? Can you even answer that? Do you not really know the time before last? So are you being inconsistent with how you're speaking to your sphere? Do you have a system? Do you have a plan? Is it automated in any way? Are you giving them anything, whether it's tangible or value? What's the value you're giving them? Is that planned? Is it winged? So a lot of people figure, well, they're in my sphere, they're my client. Well, 4 people are thinking that. Only one of you can actually get the business. So why is it you? Something to really think about, because the most important lead source by far is your sphere. And you have competition. There's going to be 3 people that are disappointed every single time. So how are you setting yourself apart to actually earn that business? Okay? So why did we not accomplish it? Or, hey, like not be negative. Why did we? What happened? How did we accomplish it? If we did hit the goal, how did we do that? What did we set to do? How did we make sure that happened? Because we got to keep doing it, right? Great job. Let's keep doing it. But if we didn't, why? Okay? So this year, what were our closing volume GCI numbers? What was lost, or did we accomplish it? Why was it lost, or why did we accomplish it? That's very important before you project what you can do next year. Okay? So the next part of that, what are the goals? Same thing, what are our numbers? Most important part again is that why though. So if we're gonna say our goals for 2026 are gonna be, I wanted to do 30 deals, I did 10. Well, I wanna do 30 deals in 2026. Okay, you're coming off of 10. Why is that gonna happen? Why is this year different? What are you going to do differently? So if you want to do that farming again, as we mentioned, well, have you been setting it up? Did you do what we talked about before to do something consistently throughout the year where you can set yourself up? So if you started farming this year, but you actually did develop your farm, well, it's realistic to not have any closings year 1, but year 2, now we're ready to go. Now we can build those closings into it. Good. But if you didn't, don't project it again. So if you say, well, I'm going to get 5 deals that come from expireds, you've never had a single expired deal in your life, what's your commitment to it? What are you going to do? Why is that going to happen this year? Well, for my sphere, I projected 10 last year, and I got 5, but now I'm projecting 10 again, or 15. How is that realistic now? What are we going to do different? It's not that it's not realistic. All those things can be realistic if you actually do something different. So why? Why is that our number? So we have a goal of 30 transactions, whatever volume, whatever GCI. How are we going to do something different from this so that the lost column doesn't exist? So the next thing that we need to do is work with our goals. And so let's imagine that we start with a GCI goal. So if you do a number of transactions goal, that's easy. We can work with that pretty easily. But let's imagine you have a GCI goal. So if you have a GCI goal of, let's say, 200,000. So we have a GCI goal of 200,000. We have a GCI goal of 200,000, and let's say that your average take-home commission is 10,000, just for easy math. Could be more, could be less. Let's say it's 10,000. So if our average transaction is 10,000, that's 20 deals and whatever volume. So we are going to do 20 deals this year. So our next thing that we need to figure out is how we accomplish that. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Just more thought process even for some agents who maybe don't have their own, average sales price just yet. Is like using the median something that would kind of be a good starting point?
100%. Yeah.
This is the median sales price in the city, so I can assume that.
Yeah. Let me.
Median sales price is going to be.
Thank you for bringing that up. Let me do it the right way. I did it the kind of lazy way of let me just use nice round numbers. Let's do it the real way. So if we have a goal of 200,000, well, the median sales price in Las Vegas, as we said, for a resale single family home, let's just use that, is 460. So if we say 460, and let's say that you get 2.5% commission safely, do you guys want, let's just use 2.5. So if we say 460, and we say safely, nobody better be taking less than 2.5, and if you're taking 2.5, get broker approval, get 3%. Go get 3%. But we're gonna use 2.5. Go get 3% though. So if we do that, that's $12,000 per commission. So if we get $12,000 at 2.5 on a 460, that's $12,000 to you. So if we say that our goal of 200,000 GCI divided by 12,000 is actually 16.6, so 17 transactions. So let's actually just do that. So 17 transactions with real actual math. Perfect. Good idea, Chris. So we have 17 transactions to hit our goal here. So again, whatever your goal was, if your goal was volume, we just do the same math, right? Whatever it was. If you wanted to do 4.6 million this year as your goal, that's 10 transactions. So we just use lazy math. So we just do that to figure out your transactions either way. So if your transactions goal, that's easy. The other ones, we just do a little math to figure out the number of goals, number of transactions we need. So if we need 17 deals this year, remember before I said to you guys that what you're going to work on with consistency this year is the number 2 most important thing of everything we're going to talk about. This is number 1. The number 1 most important thing that we're going to talk about this year is this right here. What your transaction goal is for the year. Because ultimately, that's the most important thing. If this year you just happen to close like a $5 million deal and normally you do around a median, you can hit this number or this number with pure luck. And I don't want to project luck. So what I want to project out is using kind of like a median to figure out what you should do. If you do 17 transactions and you set out to do 17 transactions, but your median sales price is just slightly lower than you thought it would be, okay, you did your job. I mean, you might come slightly low on this, but you actually did what you were supposed to do. So I think this is the most important thing as far as how. So this right here, this is the number 1 most important thing of everything. The how we do that. That is the most important thing we're going to talk about. How we do that. So what are some different lead sources out there? Somebody just throw some stuff at me. Make sure you guys are still awake. What are some lead sources?
Open houses.
Yep. SOI I heard open houses. What else we got?
NODs.
Yeah, sure. What else?
Expired.
Expireds, perfect. What else?
Door knocking.
Sure. What else?
Your favorite geographical farming.
Love it. Yep. What else?
Fizbos.
FSBOs, yep. Anything else?
Agent referrals.
Sure, perfect.
Business to business.
Yep, yep. I'm just gonna write that in there, same thing. Sort of, but yep, close enough. Actually, I guess it's very much a different thing. but yeah, let's separate that. Okay, what else? Yeah, I mean, so that's a good list. I mean, I can think of a couple different things. We've got like for rent by owner, got
What is it called? Like likelies, right? So
Likely to sell.
before divorce.
Yep.
death,
Yep, yep.
duplicating. What's the one for?
It's called Sell Score.
There you go. Thank you.
Yep. So for rent by owner, AOD, affidavit of death is AOD. Likely sell score. We've got like online leads, right? We've got paid, not paid. Yeah, social media, yep. There's a couple more that were in my head that I just forgot about, but that works for now. So we've got a bunch of different options. These are different things to look into. I mean, cold calling in general, agent-to-agent referrals, business to business, different digital marketing, whether it's paid or not paid, open house, sphere, door knocking, I thought was a good one, geo. This is the other one I was going to say, is demographic. I actually think a slept-on lead source is demographic farming. Everyone thinks about geographic farming. Demographic farming is like, imagine I'm just going to really farm after lawyers, doctors, people that speak a certain language, someone that has a characteristic that I can market towards that. People that are 62 years old and looking to downsize.
In a house more than 3,000 square feet.
Yes, exactly. And 22% have kids. So we demographic farm after something like that, right? I mean, honestly, we should have probably said that, guys. We probably should have said like upsizers and downsizers in particular, because as we mentioned, that is really who we should be thinking about right now. Are those upsizers going into certain properties and then downsizers? So those are some different lead generation sources. And again, I said the number one most important thing we need to figure out today is how we accomplish this. And this is your answer. You pick something that you want to do, and then we build a business plan around it. And so I recommend that you do two things very, very well. Two things very well. I think the one thing that everyone should do is your sphere. By the way, I group in their referrals into that, sphere plus their referrals. So I think that's number one lead source. Statistically, Jason Pantana shared this one time that 62% of buyers found their agent through their sphere or referral from their sphere. 68% of sellers was someone in their sphere, referral from their sphere. So about 65% of all deals, about 2 out of every 3 deals comes from someone in your network or a referral from someone in your network. So if we know that 2 out of every 3 deals comes from this one source, would you be crazy to not do that source? I think so. So this should be one of your sources. And then I would just ask you to pick another to do very, very well and dive into that. Do 2 things very, very well. Do 3 to 4-ish total. Tom says up to 6, but I kind of find that that's too many. I think probably 3 to 4 total lead sources and do 2 very well that you're very proud of. These are some options. So once you pick your lead sources, you figure out how many come from that. So let's imagine we're going to go with sphere, we're going to go with open houses, we're going to go with agent to agent, and let's say let's go find some downsizers, why not? So we've got 4 lead sources there. Let's say that with my business, this is what I project them to look like, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we come back over here and we're going to say how. So how we're going to do this to get 17 transactions, let's say that I get 8 closings from my sphere. I get, let's say, 4 from open houses. Let's say I get 2 from here, and then let's make that a 3, and let's say I get 2 from here. So I'm going to get 8 closings from my sphere, 4 closings from people I met at open houses, 3 agent-to-agent referral closings, and then I'm going to target downsizers through high sell score to get 2 closings that are downsizers. Okay, that's where my business comes from. Could everyone have done this last year? Did everyone have this last year? Everyone said, I'm going to close this many deals and from these sources. Hopefully everybody had that. And then we can go over here to our actuals and say my goal was to have all those closings go 8, 4, 3, 2 from those sources. But what actually happened, based upon my goal last year, I lost pieces of business by, let's say, 2, 1, 1, 1, right? That's where I was short. Okay, so now that we know what you intended to do and what you ended up actually doing, we can start to put together our system a little bit more. What needs more attention? What was I good at? Where did I struggle? And then what you do is some of those things that we already talked about today with what are you doing well, what are the good habits, what are the bad habits, what do we need to start to implement? Now you just dive into each source. You view each individual thing and say, now what do I need to do? So let's do that for a second. Is everybody following me on that? Okay, cool. So let's do that for a moment. So if we say sphere is going to be 8 closings this year, well, within my sphere, what do I need to do to produce 8 closings? So in order to produce 8 closings, what I think you should probably do is maybe have emails, and maybe you email everybody in your sphere twice per month, so 2 times per month. Maybe you have like a newsletter that goes out, and maybe it's a mailer. Why not? So maybe you mail them every single month in some fashion. You email them twice per month. Let's imagine that you do events with your sphere. So let's say you do a quarterly event. So you do a quarterly event with your sphere. You're staying in contact with them. Let's imagine that you do a home valuation. So we'll send them maybe one at the beginning of every year. Maybe we also do one in June. So we have a valuation that they get. And then they should get a phone call from you. So let's say that we get a quarterly call. And let's say that we try and speak to them. Let's imagine that we take these people out to coffee appointments. So we take people out to coffee appointments 2 to 3 times a week. So we're seeing multiple people throughout the year. and so on and so forth. That's just what comes to mind right now. But let's imagine that we do all those things to accomplish those 8 closings. So that's starting to create a system. You create your system. We're also going to do video, and then possibly most importantly here, I mean, arguably in the world that we're in now, social media. So if you're doing social media, they're going to see you a lot. That's free, repeated advertising. And so you're brand building in their mind. People choose us for likability and trust. Now, if they like you, good. Let's make sure they keep liking you. Do they trust you, though? They may trust you as a person. They may not think you're going to go run away with their money, but do they trust that you can handle their largest financial asset to get them the most amount of money and avoid any pitfalls? Maybe they really, really like you a lot, but you've closed one deal. Maybe they don't trust you to do that. So what do we need to do to build trust? We probably need to show social proof. So we may need to be sending out in your newsletter mailer that you've closed these deals, that you've done these things. You show them market stats, but in a creative, fun way. Same deal, maybe you do that in email too. So boom, frequency, multiple touch points. Maybe during an event, you're gonna be very professional during your event. You're gonna give them a valuation of what their home is worth. It's gonna be tailored to them. It'll be coffee table worthy. You call them, you check on them, but you do discuss the market. You're going to do video, and they're going to see those videos where you're going to be doing property tours, community tours. You're going to tell them about an area, and you're going to prove that you're the expert on that. So if they consistently see that you're an expert, now they're going to trust you. And when they go to transact, the chance is going to be that they work with you. Now, some numbers behind that is that, and we will be wrapping up here in a moment, guys. So the numbers behind being able to close these 8 transactions, well, about 6% of your sphere will transact, and about 10% of your sphere may either transact with you or give you a referral. So if we use those numbers, and we say that you have 1,000 people in a sphere, let's just say, and we can divide that based off what you actually have. 1,000 people divided by 6% is going to be 60 transactions. So your sphere of 1,000 people produces 60 transactions. And if it produces 60 transactions, you're not going to get all of them. Everybody knows 4 realtors. So how many are you going to get? Let's just imagine you get 25%. So if you get 25% of that, that's 15 deals. So a 1,000-person sphere produces 15 deals. If you have 333 people, you have 5 deals. Okay? If you have 5 deals in there at 333 people. So think about what your sphere is. Did you have a goal of 8 closings and you have a 333-person sphere? That doesn't add up. So we need to grow the sphere, or we need to do this a heck of a lot better. That way you can increase your 25% conversion to 50% conversion, and then all of a sudden that becomes 30, and that becomes 10. So now we can do that. So if you increase your conversion by doing these things well, by having a system, by doing something different this year, you can accomplish your goal. You can do that. But it comes with effort, and it comes with intentionality, and it comes back to loving your job, or if you hate it and you have to do it, then do it. All comes full circle. We're going back to that, okay? So in order to achieve this goal, what will we do? Okay, so we're going to do that with each source. If you're going to call everybody, let's go back to this, and we say that every single quarter, you're going to give them a quarterly phone call. Then we say every quarter someone's going to speak to us, and so there's 3 months in every quarter. So if I talk to 111 people per month, I talk to everybody in my 333 person per quarter, right? So if I speak to that many people per month, that's about 30 people a week. So if I speak to 30 people per week, then I'm going to accomplish that goal. Okay, it's 27, right? So if I speak to that many people per week, I'm going to be able to speak to everybody a quarter. Done. So if I know I need to speak to 30 people per week, speak to 30 people per week, that goes in my schedule. Okay, let's plan ahead. So that goes in my schedule. So now we start thinking about what do we do Monday through Friday, or sorry, every day. Well, let's plan, when do my emails go out? When does my mailer go out? Let's get ahead of my event by at least 2 months to get RSVPs out, make sure that all the budgeting, we have other people contribute to the cost so it doesn't cost me a ton of money. We can talk about all that another time. Plan ahead and get your calls done. schedule coffee appointments with people, make sure you're getting your social media and videos done consistently. In order to do these things, you don't wing it. You don't do it by accident. It goes in your schedule. Now, a person who has a well-run business, who has a business plan that they respect, should be planning how to do these things. So we just said that produces our 8. Good. Now this becomes real. Now this lost business doesn't happen next year. Then we do that here too. So open houses, wonderful. How many people do I need to speak to at an open house to get a closing? If you feel you need to speak to 40 people, you need to speak to 40 people, let's just say, to get a closing. All right, so for open houses, we have 4 closings. And to get 4 closings, we need to speak to 40 people per closing. Every 40 families that I meet, I get a closed transaction. So from there, we're going to have to speak to 160 people. So if we speak to 160 people, let's just for easy math, say that 50 work weeks, let's say that's 3 people per week, right? We speak to 3 people per week in order to do that. So if we need 4 closings, every 40 people we speak to produces a closing. Divided by 50 weeks worked, it's essentially 3 people per week. So if I need to speak to 3 people per week to accomplish this number, where does that go in my schedule? How many open houses per week do I need to do? If on average I speak to 3 people per open house, 1 open house per week. If my weekday open houses get 1 person, I might need to do 2 per week. If my weekend open houses get me 3, I can do 1 per week. So think about, when do I need to put this in my schedule in order to make sure that I speak to enough people to produce the closing? So all of this is super important. I told you it's the most important thing because it leads to what do we need and how do we need to do it, right? And then it goes in the schedule. Once it's in the schedule, it actually gets done. If I need to produce 3 closings from agent-to-agent referrals, what do I need in order to do that? Do I need to be sending out marketing material? Do I have to have an offer? What does that look like? If we're going to be doing downsizers through sell scores, I need to get the phone numbers. I need to make sure the phone numbers are correct. I need to mail them. I need to maybe door knock if I want to do that. But I need to create my script. I need to call people. How many people do I need to speak to per week? Do the exact same math here for that. That's probably closer to 250 people spoken to before a closing. So that's 500 people spoken to, 50 weeks, it's 10 people per week. I need to speak to 10 people per week now in order to accomplish that. So perfect. So now I know my schedule. I need to create marketing material, speak to 10 people per week, speak to 3 people per week through open houses. I need to do all these things, speak to 30 people per week on my call, go on 3 coffee appointments per week in order to do that. I've got to produce social media content 5 days a week. I got to do a quarterly event. I got to do a monthly newsletter mailer. I got to do 2 emails per month. Look at this, we have a business now. See how that works? And so once we know all these things, we can produce what we need to do on a weekly level. So I'm gonna stop here. I know I kind of just fire hosed you guys a little bit, but hopefully we reflect on what's been working, what we need to start doing, what we want, what we need to do differently, and then what we need to do on a weekly basis, and then you put that into your schedule. What are your different time blocks in order to accomplish the different things to hit these numbers, to hit that number, to hit that number? Okay, any questions? No?
I guess be so bold as to recommend ChatGPT would be a great way to just plug some of these in and say, hey, how do I get business from agent-to-agent referrals, right?
Sure.
Just trying to trigger. Because for that, it'd be, obviously we're talking about agents outside of our network, agents who live here, sell here. But
Yeah.
So what cities are moving here, and how do you contact those types of people?
Yeah, I think certain things would be really good like that. Other ones, I definitely want your opinion, not just ChatGPT, but that's a good example of what to use ChatGPT for. Absolutely. Any good question? Anybody else? Well, thank you guys for being here. Okay, again, your homework is to be here same time next week and to bring what we discussed. So in the business plan, we went up until the base level of KPIs on the business plan. And then we can run through your KPIs next week if there's questions. I know there will be, so I will run through that again. But that's your homework. Everybody have that by this time next week, and I want to see every single one of you here next week. Okay? Great to see you guys. Thank you.